Hello, so today we're going to be looking at a video I made for the game Pandemonium. I did a full playthrough of the game, and I kind of wanted to go back and add some commentary to it, just make it a little bit more entertaining, give some of my thoughts on the game as a whole, that kind of stuff. Here we have the intro video of Fargus and Nikki accidentally unleashing a monster into their world. It's a kind of a crazy premise, but it's actually pretty cool. I had never played this game back on the PlayStation 1 when it came out, so playing it on Steam was kind of my introduction to it. Um, Gotta love the idea of just, but this is a 10th level spell, I can't cast this, I'll cast it anyways, you'll be fine. So this game has never really been on my radar before, in any means. I found out about it through a YouTube channel I watch called Buyer's Remorse, and I will link it somewhere around here for you to try to go look at that if you're interested. What their channel is about picking up games out of their library and playing them for an hour and giving their thoughts and opinions on it, and ultimately coming to the decision of whether or not they have any remorse of buying slash owning that game, or if they confirm that it was a good choice on buying slash playing that game. So we gotta track down a wish to basically undo the magic spell that was put on. This game is pretty hard, so I actually did use a 30 lives cheat in order to make any progress. So, and the controls, like, they're slightly awkward. I used keyboard and mouse for this game. It did take me some time to get used to, but once I did get used to it, it became at least easier. There was also plenty of mechanics, which I'll talk about as I come across them, that I had no idea you could do. And if I were to ever go back and play this again, the game would probably be significantly easier because I understood them. So you have a lot of, like, kind of Mario-esque platforming, jumping on things, but the game runs in a weird, like, 2.5D, similar to Crash Bandicoot, where the world moves around you, but you only, most of the time, move left and right. I found myself using the A key and the S key to run left and right, and other than that, jumping, you don't really ever have to go up and down too much, although there are some segments where you might have to. Also, I like look at this, I can kind of view some of the details I missed before, like the skull in the background, or the skull mountain in the background, or whatever you want to call that. And I die a lot in this game. I think there were some points in the video I did try cutting out some of the deaths, but I still die a lot. Also, a thing to note is that this game, I believe it's like $7 at base, but you can pick it up next to nothing during sales. It's around 70 cents during a sale. So if you kind of like what you're seeing and are okay with getting into an older game with a lot of kind of technical flaws, or not technical, but mechanical flaws, to where it's not as smooth as most platforming experiences of the time, it's a fun game to pick up for that price. You're gonna get enough entertainment out of it if you can stand to get past some of the wonky controls. I did some Steam diving as well whenever I loaded this game up, and there is a way to make the resolution look better than its default base, which is what I'm using in this video. I think the game is quote-unquote running in 1080p, which is better than its base. But there are some pretty good Steam guides telling you how to just go in and simply manipulate some files in order to make the game look slightly better on new systems. Also, one of the things this game seems to be known for is the soundtrack. I really did enjoy the soundtrack. A lot of the levels have a variety of songs, and they're nice songs. They fit right in with the tone of the level you're in, and they repeat pretty often, like especially since you're usually playing like maybe roughly 5 to 10 minutes per stage, maybe even more depending on how many times you die, but they don't repeat to the point of just being an annoying earworm. So, like, see right here is like the skull mountain thing that was in the background earlier that you have made it to. The perspective is weird, but it's really cool to kind of get to where you were looking at previously. And the direction can be sometimes confusing, but luckily there is, you know, like, at least arrows to kind of guide you most of the time if you get too lost. There is some exploration that you have to do, though, because a lot of the times I'm just like, okay, is this the way or is that the way? So it doesn't really explain where, like, all the other enemies came from, I guess. Like, whenever the big bad came out of the magic spell, it also unleashed all the other enemies as well. That's kind of one of those just interesting things I just thought about as... I guess, like... I mean, there are bosses, so... I guess those can be the minions of those particular bosses. Just a small plot hole of the story there. We brought the big bad out, but where did all the other bads come from? You can also play as two characters in this game, but I kind of primarily found myself playing only as Nikki because Nikki can double jump in this game, and for a kind of wonky platformer, I found that to be the more important skill to have. Alright, so that was the very first stage. That's about how long those stages are. They're not the same length as like the kind of Crash Bandicoot era platforming where you just have a short like 3-minute stage you can run through. These stages are fairly long. I think actually this one might be one of the shorter stages. And I do have plenty of like memories of playing games that have platforming segments like this, of like going up a spiraling tower. In recent games, you see games like Bloodstained do it, and I think one of the earlier memories I have of this particular type of platforming is from like a Mickey Mouse adventure game, where you had to climb a flaming tower at the end of the game. It's a cool level design, and I do like seeing this in platforming games. I also think this is one of the very few levels that I tried to get as much of the coins as I could. Really, the purpose of the coins I found throughout gameplay is to get extra lives, and I guess a score if you're going for a score run, although it doesn't really tell you a score, but I guess you can kind of make your own score with that. But the coins, if you're able to get so many of them, it does give you an extra life. And right there, I missed a few, so I just decided to... From there, I wasn't going to try to get any more coins. I didn't want to sacrifice my life just to get the coins on this level. Actually, now that I'm remembering, there is more to this level than just that part. For some reason, I keep having it in my head that level just had that spiraling tower, but there is a little bit more if I remember correctly. I also found myself doing that a lot. I would slow down just to kind of be careful of what's ahead of me, because you have very limited hits in the game, especially playing the way I did. And I'm just too afraid to take the hit. So the Jester character, Fargus is the other character you can play as, and he does like a spinning attack thing, and I'm not really sure what else he can do. I think that's his like character ability, but like I said, I did just find Nikki's double jumping to be much more of a useful ability than being able to spin, especially since enemies can be destroyed either way by a jump. I didn't think it was effective to have just an extra attack ability. I could be missing some mechanic with the spin, but as far as like what it could do, I was like, well, I think that's, you know, all I really need is to double jump. I think from this point, really, I started like caring a lot less about the coins. It wasn't until I realized my lives were dwindling that I should probably collect more coins. And, like, as far as some of these stages where I did die, like, just a few times, I thought about cutting it, but I didn't feel like it was necessary to cut everything, because I could have, like, gone in and cut and edited to where, like, I think I die right up here, not at this one, but at the next crystal, and I could have gone in and cut and edited to where I restart right around that area, but I just figured, you know, it's not gonna kill anybody. If they wanna, like, see all of it, they can just watch all of it. If not, they can, just fast forward to where they see appropriate. I did take, however, out some of the levels where I ended up dying, like, 20, 30 times. I ended up editing down to, like, my winning attempt, especially since, the lives, dwindle down so far. That was a kind of weird music change that happened, but they're not really smooth transitions as far as like the music switches in the same level, but I can understand that being like a old classic game like this. I made many mistakes like that where I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to get past this part, and then just immediately died. So this game, without using a code, gives you 3 lives at base. And yeah, it's hard to try to get through an entire stage using only 3 lives. You are given a password at each stage, and that's kind of what I did a lot of the times, was if I ran out of lives, I just ended up using a password and jumping back to where I was. It would be hard for me to clear this legitimately. There are extra hit points you can find in the game, and whenever I use a password, it usually only gave me 3 hit points. I have seen videos of people playing the game collecting more hit points and having up to like 9 or 10 plus hearts, and that would probably make things easier, but for the most part, I think I only ever found that 1 heart right there, actually. And that was my only health increase throughout the entire game. Alright, so there was that level cleared. And there's the passwords that you get. They can also be found online or in the Steam forums. That also, on my Steam, for whatever reason, kept popping up, even though I had notifications turned off at the time. I don't know exactly what that was. And there's not achievements or anything for the game. And I wasn't taking screenshots, so that was just a really weird bug that happened. I'm not exactly sure what made that occur. So power-ups are another thing that I didn't really experiment with until this point. I had discovered how useful they are on this stage, because there was a lot of enemies where I was having a problem getting past, like those little gnome things. And they became much easier whenever I found out you can just use the power-up to shrink them down. However, if you get hit once, you lose the power-up. So you do have to be very conservative about when you get hit, or if you get hit. I think it would be crazy though to watch people who know this game very well just do a full speed run of like not stopping and just taking every shortcut. Because I'm sure there's people who have like dedicated their gaming time to perfecting this game because it's a near and dear game to their heart of nostalgia, but I can't imagine myself trying to actually speed run this game or 100% this game legitimately. I'm also really hoping that they add the second game to Steam. I'd heard there was a second game released as well that was actually better than this one. And I would really love to see that as a game to be able to like play on the modern platforms as well. While I did have a kind of like love-hate relationship with this game at most times, I still enjoyed my time with it and would like to try out the second one. So I did also learn with these guys, they jump when you jump, so you have to, if you don't have any way to take them out, the easiest way to get past them is to like run up to them, jump, and then run under them. Because otherwise they just keep bouncing you back every time you try to jump over them. I think I got a bit lucky on that spider. So the transitions aren't always smooth, but I never had a bug in the transitions, luckily. A lot of the time I was also just kind of guessing where I was supposed to go. I do know I mentioned earlier about the arrows usually pointing you in the right direction, but there are plenty of levels where you just have to kind of explore and find your way through. It's somewhat linear, but it's still the way the perspective is. It can be low-key confusing to figure out where all you're supposed to go. So you have a, like, invincibility there, which almost any time I got that, I was just trying to run through the level as quick as possible, hoping that I would make it far. I did also wish that when you made it through a level that your health didn't carry over the same it was on the last level. Instead, you're given the same amount of health that you had on the last level to start the next level with. That made it even harder, especially if you only have 3 lives. Your health always carried over. This soundtrack right here really made me think of Crash Bandicoot. It's just got that same kind of vibe with it. So that happened a lot too whenever I was using power-ups with enemies that jump or fly. Like, I felt like I was hitting the enemy, but just nothing was happening. So usually I would just, like, try to run back or just jump on it if I could. That was also a very, interesting kind of thing that happens. There are some levels where you run into a gate and you have to turn into a certain animal for a short amount of time. This actually had a problem crop up with me later in the game, which I'll explain whenever I come across it. But it's still a really cool mechanic. Definitely makes me think of Donkey Kong Country, where you're forced to play as a particular animal for a short amount of time on Donkey Kong Country 3. And it was just cool to see that mechanic thrown in here. Another reason I didn't make really many cuts on the deaths in the first 30 deaths is because initially I wanted to see how far I can make it through the game without knowing anything about the game on the 30 lives. I tried with the 3 lives and I think I made it to like stage 3 or 4. And I decided I was going to use the lives and I wanted to see how far I can actually make it on just the 30 because that was how many I was able to get. Another thing I did notice is that there is some information on passwords, but not all of it seems entirely accurate. For instance, the Never Dead achievement, or Never Dead password I used to get 30 lives, is advertised everywhere, shown around everywhere as giving you infinite lives. The 30 lives password is actually vitamins, I think it is. But if you try typing in vitamins in this game, it doesn't do anything. So it seems like for the Steam port, they actually changed some of the passwords up to where you can't get the same effect. I finally made it past the frog part here, and then I become kind of cautious as I move again because I only have one hit left. This part here, I did not know about the mechanic of ducking. And the first time I did this part on my initial 3 lives run, I think this might have been where I ended up using all my lives because I had no idea how to get past some of these spikes like this right here. If you don't duck, you automatically take a hit no matter what. You can't jump over it, you can't run into it, so if you don't duck on those, then you take the hit. Like that right there. No matter what, that's gonna be the hit you take. And and you have to pass through, I think, 5 or 6 total that look like that. So there's no way you can actually make it through unless you understand that you have to duck under those. I found myself running back a lot to try to gauge what the rest of the track looked like because there was no... Fortunately, it doesn't like just keep you on a continual track down where you have to adjust to the speed it gives you. You can kind of backtrack yourself and slow yourself down a little bit. Usually once I found out what was ahead, though, I just kind of sped through, knowing that, okay, I've got like a part up here to duck, I've got a hole up here I have to jump, but I want to make sure I have enough speed as well to get through it. So, like, I took a hit there, but I also see that I'd be safe for the rest of the level, so I just zoomed down through the rest of it. But like I said, I think whenever I initially played, that was where I made it with the 3 lives. It was on that stage. And so from, like, here forward with the 30 lives, it was, like, new material to me. I didn't know anything what I was going to be running into. So I think from this point forward, I also became a lot more cautious of what I could and couldn't do. So, like, I died the first time, but then the second time I discovered that those mushrooms, if you jump on them, they might send you somewhere differently. So I started trying those out to see if they sent me anywhere. Maybe a path that was easier, or a path that had extra lives, or even extra health. So these right here are kind of cool as well. They reminded me of like the collect the banana things in Donkey Kong Country, where if you collect all the bananas that are hard to get in a particular location, then you'll get bonus coins. I usually didn't try to go for them because, as I mentioned, I didn't usually try to go for all the coins, but I still thought it was a nice little bonus to try to find in the game. Get a life, lose a life. Perfect. I also found that many a times I would do something like that where I spend so long on one little part only to immediately die like seconds later, and I'm like, alright, well at least I know how to do that first part now. So I don't like stab myself with a rock here trying to get that health. And I know to start from the bottom, hopefully, to get the key instead of just frantically using this top one. Or, you know, just moving on and forgetting the key. That's probably what I also did. I'm just like, alright, well, you know, it's not important. Found this, and it's like, well, I probably gotta run. So I just zoomed through, hoping that I wouldn't kill myself as soon as it ended. I didn't even want to try to go from the... I jumped once and saw that the timing was going to be a little bit weird, so I'm like, I'm just going to play it safe and not jump too many times. I'm down to 18 lives on the first boss. I don't know if I made a cut here or not. I might have made a cut of my first life and then cut to my... But I don't think I did. I think this boss didn't take too many attempts. I think it only took 2 or 3 attempts for me. Again, there's no real explanation of like where these bosses come from. Or like if they just came with the book, or if the other monster is spawning them. The plot gets a little loose there, but it's fun to imagine. I do imagine I died a number of times trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. Luckily, I guess I've played enough platforming bosses to kind of point out the different things and pick up on those clues. It's not like modern games where once you enter a boss, it tells you what you're supposed to be doing, or if you mess up so many times, it's gonna like give you a little tip like, hey, here's what you have to do. So now I knew I had to go for the fire torches. And I think this time I also discovered about the rocks and how they can hit you, because before I was just discovering that he can hit me. So, if I die this attempt, which I did, I had to learn that the rocks are something I had to also look out for, because I only have 3 hits to play with. I also think I discovered here it would be quicker to go left to get to the torch than it was right. So I probably died more than 2 or 3 times. Let's just throw that out there. I might have died like 9 or 10 times. I don't know. I died a lot. I don't know why the music switched up here either. That's kind of weird that it switched to a different song. I just noticed that, like, it just switched to a completely different theme for whatever reason. And I know where this song is from, but it's weird that it switched to it. Alright, so I beat him that time. So it took me more than a few, but I did manage to take him down. Immediately died as soon as I run him level. I was like, alright, well, let's not do that again. And if I would have had one hit left, I would have died again. Did not learn from my mistakes. So our running back and forth guys have kind of upgraded into jumping back and forth guys. There's actually some intelligent progression as far as the enemy AI goes. All the enemies do get harder. By the end of the game, they are annoyingly hard, but for the most part, they do get harder. I don't know why right there I just like completely ignored that heart. I know I saw it and I'm just like, oh yeah, let's just keep going. I'm fine. I've got 2 hits left. I can take it. There isn't really a clear checkpoint system in the game. You kind of just occasionally get checkpoints. I do wish that there was a more clear checkpoint system. I never knew like when I had reached a point where I was going to be safe to die and not have to progress from the start of the stage again. Found out you cannot jump on those guys, like most of the enemies. I think another bad habit of mine, as far as like being cautious and just being careless, was if I had more health, a lot of the times I was like, alright, yeah, I can just keep running. It was only whenever I was down to 1 health I would be like, okay, I need to slow down, find a heart. I feel like I probably should have usually tried to keep the pace slow, that way I wouldn't have just wasted my hits. I knew I couldn't jump on those guys, and I did not want to go for those. Kind of jump holes were an interesting mechanic too, because you had to figure out which one you had to jump into and where it would send you. And then here it became more of a physics puzzle almost, making sure you jump far enough. So I made it fairly far with the 30 lives. Granted, it's a lot of lives to play around with, but for it being a older platformer games with a lot of difficulty, I feel like I made it pretty far. Again, a lot of the deaths that I had were because I had to go into a new level with 1 hit point left. If the game would give you just that refresh every time you entered a new level, I probably would have died a lot less and or made it a lot further in the 30 lives. Not really sure what that sign was supposed to mean. It like looked like a goblin head almost, and it's like next 50 miles. It's like what's next? Is there a goblin in the next 50 miles? Is this a goblin slide? We got our first kind of like almost chase sequence that most platformers of that era were known for. But it's not the whole stage. I'm kind of glad they didn't have a stage like that. That would have been kind of difficult to have an entire stage devoted to a chase sequence. And then here we have a new animal, play the Rhino instead. It took me a minute to realize that you don't have to press an action button of any sort to make him do his charge, you just have to run continuously. Because here I thought you had to hit something and then I just ended up killing myself. So then I had to run back through this initial part again. Luckily, you know, I knew a few things about it. That, for instance, the key over here is how you initially get through this wall. I took a hit getting the key. I should have like doubled back, but you know, I did learn that that's where that was. So right there is where I kind of tested how do I do this charge thing, and I realized, oh, I just have to run and it automatically happens. I didn't think I was going to have enough distance on that one, so I just jumped on him instead. Luckily, I had enough room to jump there. So that time I had enough speed built up to just run right through, which was nice. And this time I think I tried to stay on that first and then jump over, which turned out to be the more intelligent choice. The first time I just didn't make it far enough. Yeah, I did not trust those holes, so I just avoided them. I was like, those will probably kill me. Let's not jump in them. And I don't know if they do, but I avoided them. So this might actually be the stage that I ended up using the rest of my lives on, and the reason for that actually, mainly, is because there is another mechanic that I, yet again, didn't understand that I could do until later. And also those guys that shoot the flies ended up killing me a lot. Those were one of my my harder enemies to figure out. So it may be this level, and it may actually be the next level that I ended up using all my lives on. I'm not entirely sure. I do know it was one of the forest levels. I don't know where that spider went. It just disappeared. Because I tried to do the same thing on that one, jump on the top when it was on the bottom, and the spider stayed. So I guess it just didn't want to deal with me that day. I guess that happened a lot too, where I had like an enemy that would hit me, and I'm like, oh, I gotta take that enemy out. It hit me. And it's like, well, I'm already past the enemy. I should just keep moving forward, but no. I don't know if I ever actually got past without getting hurt. I think mostly every time I took a hit there. Gravity, my only weakness. Next to being hit by enemies and continually running to enemies and everything else in this game. I don't even know why I didn't go back for that power-up. I knew it would be helpful, but I'm just like, I've already gone past it. Not I'm just gonna... Yep, nope, just keep going. It'll be fine. I'm noticing that a lot as I'm watching this. Like, there were times where I'm backseat gaming myself thinking, I should, you know, you should get that, should have gotten that power up. You should have gotten that health. Why didn't you? So the answer is, yes. Little squirrel hanging out on the tree in the background, just going crazy. Oh, there's another one. Just dancing around. Maybe they're like yelling at her to get out of their forest. I don't know what that was, like blinking eyes in a bush. I have to go back and look at that and pause. Alright, so it wasn't that level that I ran out of lives. I'm pretty sure it was right before the second boss, and I think the second boss is on stage 12. So it might have been stage 11 that I wasted all my lives. It's a trap. I found out it was a trap, so the second time I went there, I did not linger on that bridge. This is another kind of song I can really imagine being in Crash Bandicoot with all the bounciness and weird noises they throw in there. Like that part, that's a Crash track for sure. The turtle. So this is one of the animal transformations that gave me some issues. Get a life, lose a life. Best way to play. That's like one of the first falling sequences in the game, where you have to maneuver around as you're falling. Tried to get to that heart, and I'm like, well, don't know how, so I moved forward and immediately died. I did find out how to get the heart, I think, on this life attempt, but the first time I was desperately trying to get over there because I knew I was probably going to die. So I tried to figure out maybe you have to go from this angle. Nope, you can't get high enough even with the fly there. So, or the dragonfly. And I've tried jumping around, maybe looking. I'm like, okay, it's not here. You have to go from above, I'm guessing. So I got hit, but I took him out and then went from above and got it. Even though I was backtracking, I knew I needed that heart because I only had one left. Not sure if it's like dragonflies or... I'd assume they're dragonflies with the way they look, but they sound like flies or mosquitoes. Granted, I think dragonflies make a very similar noise. One thing I'm glad this platformer did not have was the notorious kind of Mega Man platformers. I'm pretty sure you don't really run into those at any point, where the platforms go in and out and cycle. So you have to jump on one, and as that one goes in, another one comes out, and you have to jump on the other one as the one you're standing on is going in. Those platforms can be fun, but I'm just not a fan of them. Especially if they are in situations where you have to get through an entire sequence or you lose. Because you'll drop down to your death and then just have to repeat the whole sequence. So I really wanted that invincibility, but I was like, okay, well, I guess I missed it this time. I'm not sure if I ended up dying and had a chance to go back and get it, but I determined that I already missed my chance on that one. That enemy I found out you have to hit multiple times. It took me a few attempts to get some of them sometimes, because I didn't realize at first that you have to hit them more than one time. I think here I tried to see if you can actually hit them with that, and if it hits them in one hit. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't. You still have to do multiple hits in order to take them out. So I played it very cautious trying to get to him. Tried to figure out if I can jump off the log to get that health. I might die right here trying to get to it. Nope. But I did immediately lose it, so that's just as noble. So this time I didn't need the heart, so I just kept on going. Got an extra life there, which I will soon waste. I think this is one of the sequence areas I had some issues with. So I guess that's the only thing that really kills the enemies in one hit is if you run them over the log. Yes, it looks like it might be another level I did manage to beat, and it was the next level I messed up on. Because I think right here is the end of the level, if I remember correctly. In this little segment here. You have to get to the top and go all the way to the right on these boards that are moving kind of Frogger style. Oh, my memory is not serving me correctly. The ending was not right there. Maybe it's at the end of this one, because this is also another kind of almost Frogger style get to the top. Yep, right there. Did miss it. Let's see if I make it in this life. I think this time I learned to be patient with getting over there. Yep. So that's level 11 down. And at this point, I've just entirely given up on treasure collection. So you start implementing things here as well that you can't just kind of rush through. You have to work with the timing of it. Before this, a lot of the enemies and holes that you encountered, you could just kind of run through or jump over or so on and so forth. But now you start getting elements where you have to go along with its timing. If you try to just run through, then you're not going to have the correct timing. Alright, so this segment, I know, gave me a fair amount of difficulty trying to learn how each saw was working, where the enemies were. I'm pretty sure this is where I wasted a lot of my lives on this particular stage. At one point, I even started slowly trying to get the coins instead, because I realized that my lives were getting really low, and there were a lot of coins in this area that maybe if I collected all of them, I could end up getting extra lives. I think I would get that ×2 things first and then try to get the coins hopefully give me enough to get an extra life, because I knew I was just hurting for lives. And for whatever reason, I kept trying to jump through that. I think I do it 2 or 3 lives, but I found out you do just walk under it. I don't know how long it took me to figure that out, but that was another reason I kept dying on this part, because I kept trying to jump under that saw. See, so there I tried to make sure to get all of them open first and then use the ×2 to maximize my coins. I still feel like I ended up jumping here though, which ended up killing me because I was trying to time it. So there I finally discovered you just walk under it and you'll be fine. And then I got to my next part I was having difficulties, which was there's an enemy on the other side of that saw with a fly like that. And I kept having issues with the timing on getting to him. But a lot of the gameplay really was, for me, kind of trial and error, figuring out how each segment worked, and learning from that, and hopefully not making the same mistakes over and over and over again. So, you know, I finally learned that I should just run under this instead of trying to jump under it. Same for these, I learned don't jump, just... And then I had that fly enemy that became a problem. But luckily I think I only wasted 1 life trying to get to him, maybe 2. A lot of the other hits I probably take in this game could be just summed up as being impatient. There's plenty of times where I probably wouldn't have taken a hit if I would have just waited and took my time with it. As cautious as I play, there's still some times where I just end up running and I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. Alright, so we have the turtle again. And you'll find out soon why I had a mechanical issue with this turtle, or understanding issue with this turtle. Originally I had not planned to do commentary with this video. There's a few inserts throughout the rest of this video, kind of explaining some of the cuts I make. As I said, I really didn't make any cuts in the first 30 lives because I wanted to see how far I can make it before having to resort to continually using the 30 lives and using level passwords. But then a friend came out of the Steam shadows and I had talked to him about how I had just beat the game and I recorded footage of it, and he said it would be really great to see some commentary. I was like, oh yeah, about that. There's none of that. So here you go. Here's that commentary. I get to relive this beautiful torture yet again and watch all my mistakes, but it's still a really fun time, and I really appreciate getting to sit down and play this one. So I have like 2 lives left because the 0 lives count as your last life in this title, which I'm pretty sure a lot of classic platformer games or classic games did that, where your last life wasn't 1, it was 0. Alright, so here's a segment where I ended up using the rest of my lives, if I remember correctly. And a little segment will pop up here in a minute and explain why, after I lose all my lives. Alright, I believe I might actually have ended up losing all my lives and then editing in the new footage. We'll see how I managed to edit this one in. But this elevator right here is the one that I ended up dying on. Now granted, it will show me running through the level again, I think, and dying again on this elevator. It might even show me running through twice. Oh no. Because I just picked up an extra life. But I might have cut it here. So yeah, I used the rest of my lives right there on that one elevator, and I figured out the one mechanic that would save me here after coming back with 30 lives and passwords. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do with this turtle? And I found out that if you press the ability button, or not the ability, but the down button as a turtle, you do this, which protects you from any attacks. So I finally figured that out, and then of course to my surprise, like, the end of the level was right past that. So I kind of just had a heavy sigh and moved on. So this boss gave me a lot more problems than I would have liked, but I still figured it out. So I edited it to the life that I ended up making on. So I was on life 29. I ended up dying 8 times, which isn't too bad, but for the likelihood of making it on the regular lives, 3 lives, I would have had a lot of difficulty. And this boss still did take me a lot of time to figure out. a lot of the issue I was having, which I should not have been because I should have been listening, is I didn't know exactly where to land on top of him. And right there is where I should have thought, oh, hey, he said, ow, my little nosy. I should hit his nose. But for whatever reason, I just thought, I just need to land on top of him. And it took 8 deaths for me to figure out, oh, I just need to hit his nose. Because if you don't land quick enough, or you don't land in the right spot, then you automatically get hurt. I'm pretty sure this boss also increased the amount of hits you have to hit him. The first boss, you only had to hit him 3 times. This one, you might have to hit 5 times, if I were to guess. I don't remember how many times I actually had to hit the boss. So I think that was the 5th hit, and it was even, yeah, there we go, he goes down on the 5th hit. Just open up the door like, alright, nope, that's not where I need to go. That entire room is on fire. So I just turn around and go the other way. How the ship is not burning down with an entire room on fire, I have no idea. Like, this ship looks like it's made out of very old wood, and yet, like, that room is just self-contained, burning by itself. I mean, it could be the boiler, but the way it looked like, it just looked like the whole room was on fire. Kind of like new enemies to avoid here. Got like little mini nukes floating around, fireworks being shot at you, and you also introduce these kind of like Donkey Kong barrels where you have to aim them in a certain direction and fire yourself out from them. And there's also a little bit of timing in some places with them as well. Just a tad too short. Alright, so this mechanic is another thing that ended up happening where I couldn't understand something. And I actually did not figure this one out on keyboard and mouse. So I was primarily playing with keyboard and mouse, and I pretty much stayed that way the entire game, because that was how I got used to the timing of the platforms and timing of everything else. This dragon has the ability to actually fly. And I could not figure it out. So right there I say I couldn't figure it out, so I ended up having to skip to the next level using passwords, because right here is where I just could not figure out how to get past that wall. I tried running and jumping. I tried pressing the power-ups up different directions, or like what would be the different directions, and I just had to end up skipping the level. I could not figure out how to actually get the dragon to fly. So I ended up go ahead and jumping to the next level just because that was a mechanic that I could not figure out on the keyboard. I actually went to YouTube and started watching some videos to see if I can figure it out. I read some of the comments of those videos. There were also people in those videos asking, how do you get the dragon to fly? My dragon doesn't fly, and I guess that was people playing with mouse and keyboard as well and just not able. I might be a short sighting on the game itself, I'm not sure. Feel free to comment if you have played this with mouse and keyboard and figured out how to fly with mouse and keyboard, but I myself could not figure out how to fly. I actually did discover a way to do it later, much later in the game, and that comes up in the video and we'll discuss it there. But as far as mouse and keyboard, I was just at a complete and total loss how I was supposed to get the dragon to fly. So we got more of the Donkey Kong barrels here, and this level right here, like with the music and all, like, it gave me flashbacks to Spyro with some of the castle levels and the uppity music, the ethereal music almost. So something this I haven't explained yet as well is, although I really do enjoy the double jumping mechanic, there are plenty of times where I would try to double jump on mouse and keyboard and it just wouldn't actually double jump. I'm not sure if it was a timing thing or what, but you'll notice sometimes where I take one jump and then I immediately take a double jump after that. That was usually me trying to get the double jump to work and it not going through correctly, so I had to press it again. Luckily, most of the time that didn't kill me. It usually just meant I had to spend time doing the jump again, although there were plenty of times in late game where that ended up being the factor that made me fall to my death, was that I was jumping over a ledge with the intention to double jump, and whenever I pressed the button to double jump, it wouldn't actually double jump. It's a very confusing enemy because I thought that, I think that was one of the first times I got hit by. I'm like, oh, these are just like all the other tornadoes in the game. I can jump in this or on this to get a boost in the air. Turns out you can't. So like instances like that where areas where like I know I was pressing the double jump but it wasn't working too well. I ended up skipping that segment right there just because I'm like, okay, the double jump is not doing me any favors here. So those are kind of also a new thing I ran into, teleporting doors. A lot of the mechanics they use in this, they kind of like use once for a particular level, but then you don't really use them again. These things though, I did not like those things. You have to land on top of them like you do most enemies, but they kind of have a homing tracking on you. I also start running into disappearing platforms here. There are some clouds that look a little bit different that if you stand on them, the platform will disappear underneath you. You see some earlier in the game, but they don't really pose much of a threat because for the most part, if you die, I mean, if you break the platform, you're just going to fall to the ground, but here you end up falling to your death most of the time. So this part kind of gave me a little bit of issues, if I remember, just trying to figure out how to get this to work correctly. I also don't know what that is flying around. I'm kind of noticing that as well. The thing just screaming, whoa, whoa! That's it. Flies through the tunnel. I also think I end up finally making it up there and then immediately die. Yep. Again, something that happened often in this game. Finally get past a segment only to immediately die, and it's like, well, at least I know how to get through that one segment now. Although this segment, it still became like a timing thing. Like, I still had trouble getting the timing correct as far as making that turn and having enough speed to get on the clouds above. So that time I didn't go into that puzzle with one hit. I was able to make it through. It took me a minute as well to realize that there I was going in a loop. I had no idea that I just was continually moving in the same loop. I think I discovered I have to get that key in order to move forward. But it did take me like 3 or 4 trips to be like, wait a minute, I've been here before. Got metal, so I just run, hoping I can make it. Which, I don't think there was anything really here too much that could hurt you. I think for the most part here, it was just getting the timing right to progress through the puzzle. Because you have to hit all those switches. I mean, I guess you can fall between the clouds and maybe die, but I don't think I did. I think it just took me a while to get the timing right to get the last little switch there and then figure out where I was supposed to go next. So I found the key and then just kind of kept moving forward and then saw there was another key up top, so it became a try to get all the keys game. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, and eventually you find your way out. This part kind of gave me a lot of issues as well, trying to figure out. So you have the invincibility there, but if you hit one of those, then it bounces you backwards. And so I had to come up with a plan other than just using the invincibility. For the first time, I couldn't just take the invincibility and run with it. And I think I tried a few times to just use the invincibility before discovering a different plan. So I discovered, you know, there's that right there. And maybe I can try to get the invincibility, get that, and then quickly shoot my way an opening. But it became easier to kind of get over there and jump over the invincibility first, grab the power-up, and then go back to the invincibility after clearing the path a little bit. I also discovered that green power-up down there, which I don't remember which one I ended up using. I think I used the green one because it was easier to get to. A lot of impatient kind of hits that I shouldn't have taken, but I take anyways. So here I still end up trying to use the invincibility power, which doesn't work there. Like, if maybe you might be able to jump high enough to like hit the top one and then use the invincibility to bounce over, but it took me a while to discover, okay, I need to just try something else here because this isn't working. So yeah, right here is where I would decide I'm going to jump over that and grab that power up, come back, and start clearing my path from here. I got it down to what I could, and I think I decided to just go and see if it worked. This time it might not have, but... Or maybe it does, and as soon as I get past it, I die again. I feel like I ended up dying again shortly after, and having to do the puzzle again. Yep, end up falling down a hole. So then you have to start back here again at the start and go through the same kind of area you'd already been through. The checkpoints are forgiving once you understand how the game works, but you do use a lot of lives trying to understand how each section is going to work. So I ended up accidentally wasting the metal and then walking right off the ledge of the level. Like, I'm looking back at this, I don't know how I made some of the mistakes I made, but they happen. Especially in like platformings where you've got such precise movements you need to make. I feel like I should have cut some of the deaths out here, but I didn't. Oh well. You get to enjoy much of the torture that I went through getting through this game. I'm also not really sure why I kept jumping over for that red ability, considering the green ability probably would have done the same thing. So I think here I just end up going, even though I'd already wasted the metal, and still making it through, which was good. And then I became really cautious again. Alright. I've been doing this commentary in one shot, but I am going to take a break, so I will probably pause the video here, and I will come back to it in a little bit. So I'll just kind of cut those two together and make one video. So I will see you whenever I get back to this. Alright, so diving back into this, kind of had to take a bit of a break there for some stuff, but got about, I don't know, 30 minutes left of the gameplay, I believe. So it's kind of coming down to the winding point where I make a few more edits here and there. I think this might have actually been one of the stages as well, where I had to make a fair amount of edits on, just because I ended up dying a lot, and I probably end up putting an insert in as well about how many times I died. I think usually with these, I ended up like showing my first death attempt, and I was like, okay, let's skip the like 18 other times I died and show which time I actually made it. Oh yeah, I did not like this little segment right here. So like you have to use your firepower to hit those crystals on the in the center there, and make sure you don't hit any of the nukes. And you can't really control where you're going too well, so I think I found a workaround, but it's still pretty hard. It doesn't look like I edited this one down, or this segment down. That was a great shot. Shot him like after I get hit, like immediately after. I kind of just looked at myself like I knew that would. Why did I jump into that? Oh man. Some mistakes I made over and over and over again. I guess that's why it would be interesting to try to go back to this at some point. Since I now know a lot more of the mechanics, and I know like some of the segments I was having a lot of difficulty with, I could probably make it as far as lives and not like end up draining all of them on one level. I lost the power up there. I've still got 2 hits. I don't know if I end up making it this round or not. Nope. So now I got 1 hit left. But I think I got most of my nukes that way. But I most likely end up hitting, yep, right on top of it. So I finally made it through there, so that was, I don't know, that was one, like, annoying mechanic, just trying to figure out how to get in there without getting hit. And of course, like all other troublesome parts in this game, I'm just like, oh, well, immediately die. Luckily, it did give me, like, a checkpoint right after that, so I guess the game even knew that that was going to be a hard puzzle. I think I died a lot right here as well, with these little mini nukes, trying to figure out where I was supposed to go. Well, not where I was supposed to go, but how I was supposed to get up there without getting hit by those. That was a lucky dodge right there. I don't know how I managed to dodge that one. And then I, of course, run right back into it. So here is the dragon part. I think, unlike the last dragon part, I think for this one I was actually able to get past it without needing to learn how to fly. I think it's because I got hit by the nukes like that, and it gave me kind of a leeway to be able to get through. So I was able to make it through this segment despite not knowing how to fly with mouse and keyboard. Because this right here was kind of an auto fall thing. So I think I made a cut right here too, but yeah. So I died a lot there. I ended up dying, let's see, how far did I get down? I was on 14 lives and I jumped down to 5, so I went ahead and cut like all those deaths out. A lot of them were me attempting to get across that hole and double jumping, or attempting to double jump and ended up only doing a single jump. And even here it shows how I was having problems getting up and across. Because I would try to get up to this top ledge right here, but then I would just... my momentum would carry me off the ledge. And I think some of my deaths, like that I edited out, I would make it to here, but then get killed. This level also, this is probably like one of my least favorite levels if I remember. It was really difficult to get through this one. If this is the level I'm thinking it is. So you have like this kind of ball of lightning is traveling back and forth, and it can get you kind of locked in place like that. I'm pretty sure this was one of the levels where when I first initially played this and recorded it, I lost some footage. So I had to go back and replay this level, which is why the why the lives kind of jumped here. But initially I had beat this level and then it went on to beat the boss of the game. And then I had to come back and do a re-recording of it, and I could not for the life of me beat the end of the level. I'll explain why when I get there, but I just ended up using as much of the footage as I can and then moving on to the boss. I had a lot of problems with this part as well because I not really sure why, but whenever I saw those like little faces things, I kept thinking I just had to avoid them. And I forgot entirely that I could use my power-up to shoot them. The first time I had tried this stage out, it took me so long to remember that I was just able to use my power-up on them. So, like, this replay shows me being a lot more cautious and waiting for them to come to me, instead of my first initial run where I had just tried to run like crazy to avoid them. Guess I just decided risk reward and decided instead of trying to take those out, I just run. This should be the home stretch of the level right here. And, well, home stretch to the part where I ended up having to make some skips. Yeah, so right here is where I had to end up making skips. The first time, I still ended up using a lot of lives to get through this part. So this part, you have to basically make it to the end of the screen, and you have to avoid that wind right there. If that wind hits you, it knocks you back. And right here is where I put my how I originally lost the footage, and I tried coming back here. So the rest of right here shows my best attempt, or my closest attempt, and you'll be able to see where I have to get to for this and how close I was. I've watched a few YouTubers play this part and kind of seen what I was supposed to do, but I just never was able to get it done myself on the retry. So I got lucky there, and then I ended up dying again. So that must have not been my closest attempt. So yeah, I showed a attempt, and now I think I'm jumping to one of my closest attempts. So right here is the last leg. If you make it past this part, then you're good to go. But you have to make it into that double door back there. And I got blasted right there and died. And the floor, like, it falls out beneath you if you land there. And I just didn't feel like going back. So if you didn't read what that just said in time, what had happened here was the first time I played this game, I was able to somehow miraculously catch the boss in a back and forth bug almost. And I was just able to hit him until he died. I had 1 life left and like was down to like 2 hits, and I somehow managed to make it. And it's a shame that I didn't catch it in the recording, but it ended up just messing up. So I tried coming back again, and I think I actually ran through like 60 lives trying to kill this boss. And I eventually just decided that just to show the footage and what it was like and what the end of the game was like, I was going to just put myself with a invulnerability cheat and do it that way, because I just could not beat him again playing it legitimately. I might one day try to go back to it and see if I can do it again, but I doubt it. I'm content with being able to make it through the first time I made it through, even if I can't show off the footage that I did that. But what had happened was he ran back and forth like right where he is now, and I had the cannon aimed about like that, and instead of him only getting hit once or twice, he kept running right back and forth into it, and I was able to get pretty much an instant kill on him. This boss is very hard because you have to avoid the shots as they're coming around to you, and fire the cannon, which you have to aim at him, and he switches direction every time he gets hit. At one point, I think I just gave up on getting hit because I knew I was using the invulnerability, and just tried to concentrate on hitting him, and it's even still somewhat hard to hit him. So then we get the closing cutscene here.
Hello.
Speak 3 wishes.
Let me handle this. Wish for 1,000,000 wishes. Wish for 1,000,000 wishes.
That never works.
I hereby wish for a chicken.
Wish granted.
You idiot. Why'd you do that? I just wanted to see if it would work.
Okay, I'll do it this time. I wish Youngo was sent back to his own dimension and our village was saved.
Wish granted.
I guess that wish also came with the added bonus of, and we'll transport you back home. You don't have to walk back.
Holy cow!
I think he's gonna chuck.
Just puke your village back up.
We team or what?
Yeah, you rock. I think the village looks better in an egg.
Hey, wait a minute. Didn't the wishing engine promise us 3 wishes? What a ripoff!
Well,
Oh no, Fargus, what did you wish for?
I really wanted to share joy with the whole world.
And?
I wish that everyone back home could be just like me.
Oh no!
An army of Fargus.
Oh boy. Think we're gonna need another wish.
So then you get the added bonus of a kind of credits level, which is neat. You don't always see this in games where you get to actually have a bonus level as credits. I was kind of curious if you could die on the bonus, or on the credits, but I didn't personally attempt it. I think there's too many invincibility things, and you don't have a health meter, so I doubt you can. They probably just made it, if you get hit, you just keep going. So here's an interesting bit, because I was afraid whenever I was playing this that I was going to end up in a segment where I couldn't get through because I had to fly. And then I ran into it right here. But as I kind of put here as an insert, I thought I was stuck, but I decided, let's pick up my controller, see if I can find anything interesting here. And when I picked up my controller and started moving around, the very first thing that happened was I started flying. So I could not find the flying controls on mouse and keyboard, but for a controller, it's just the analog sticks. You just, as if you would move freely. And I don't know if it was just designed that way, or if I was just missing the button I had to press. But I was glad that I was able to figure it out, but slightly disappointed that I didn't figure it out sooner. But that's pretty much kind of a lot of my thoughts and experiences as I was playing through this game. I did enjoy it quite a bit. At the same time, I did find myself getting really aggravated at some of the multitude of deaths I experienced. I don't know if I'll ever go back to this. I would play the second one in a heartbeat, though, if they added it to Steam, just because I would be interested to see how much better it got, what kind of things they added. It was a fun game, and it's nice to kind of go back to these types of games that I never got to experience and I never heard of. But at the same time, it is a rather dated platformer as far as the mechanics. So if you're looking to get into this yourself, you definitely want to keep that in mind. But thank you for sticking around and watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch you guys at a later point.